It's 6:30, and we'll call the meeting to order for the Walker Planning Commission. The first item on the agenda is a review of meeting minutes. We've got the minutes for October 21, 2020. Had a chance to take a look at them. Any questions, comments, changes, or a motion to approve? Motion by Scott, supported by Joe, to approve the minutes of October 21, 2020. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is general public comment. This is an opportunity to express questions, concerns regarding non-public hearing items. So this evening we got a public hearing on Summerbrooke Estates Phase 2. So if you've got some comments about that, there'll be time during the public hearing to take those. Otherwise, if you have something in general that you'd like to raise, you have an opportunity right now. Just come forward to the podium and give your name and address. No takers? Okay, thank you. We'll move to the main event. In this case, it's the public hearing for the tentative preliminary plat review of Summerbrooke Estates Phase 2. It's located on 910 Kinney. And Kyle Visker, Land and Resource Engineering, and Ronald Cordis Trenching are making application to the city. And to introduce that, we'll turn this over to Tricia Anderson, our planning director.
Her new nickname's Tracy, though.
Thanks. Let me get this thing up here. Oh, we'll do it from the start. Okay, so tonight the action being requested by the Planning Commission is to provide a recommendation to the City Commission for the tentative preliminary plat for Summerbrooke Estates, the second phase. Again, this property is located at 910 Kinney Avenue Northwest, and this piece of property is 10.6 acres, 10.06 acres. The zoning district is suburban residential, single family, and we have a future land use designation of residential growth, 2 to 4 units per acre. And this property is located on the east side of Kinney Avenue, south of Leonard Street at Thornwyck. Or is it Thornwick? Thornwick. And also we have Kyle Visker, and he's the engineer, and he's representing the applicant, Ron Cordis of Cordis Trenching. So just a little bit of background on the Summerbrooke Estates. So in the very beginning, this application was submitted for the first phase way back in 2006. And I went through some old meeting minutes and found a lot of extensions and a lot of, not a lot of action on the first phase. I think during that time, the economy took a big tank, so that might have had something to do with it. But the actual approval of Phase 1 was back in 2010. I didn't see the Phase 1 get recorded until 2017. So this thing has been kind of a long time in the making. Phase 1 consists of lots 1 through 25. And when the first phase was going through the approval process, the whole phasing plan was laid out. So Phase 1 and Phase 2 have been shown on the plan in some form or another since the first application way back in 2006. So Rick Miller was the developer. He's currently the property owner, and it's my understanding that Ron Cordis is purchasing the property, or in the process of purchasing the property, and he is the applicant. So just a zoning and general location of where this plat is located. You've got the Fred Meyer Standale Trail running north-south here along the east side of this development. And here's Kinney. You've got Leonard Street up to the north. This portion here in the red hashed area is phase 1. And I don't know if that's completely built out, but I think it's mostly built out. And then down here, the black hashed area is the proposed phase 2. And then it's just north of where the Lincoln Country Club golf course currently is. So here's a closer look at the phasing plan. So you've got phase 1 here and phase 2. So I think these are 2020 photos. It's always exciting when Access Kent puts out new aerial photos. So you can see there's a few lots here that are still yet to be built on. And then down here is phase 2, the proposed phase 2. So just a little refresher on the platting review process. I'm sure you all recall that this is a multi-step process. And tonight we're just looking at the tentative preliminary plat. And during this stage of the approval process, the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the City Commission. And the elements of the plan that the Planning Commission and the City Commission are looking at this stage is the overall lot layout, making sure that the proposed lots comply with the minimum requirements for dimensions in that zoning district, as far as lot width, frontage, lot area. And then also at this stage, our city engineer here is looking at, okay, is it feasible to get utilities in here? Is stormwater management doable? And will we be able to have public roads here? And so we're not quite at the technical stage of the game yet. That comes at the next step, which is the final preliminary plat review stage. And this is where the city engineer does his in-depth review. He's provided a little bit of technical comments tonight, but that's mainly because there was some issues with the first phase with drainage that he wants to make sure he gets out in front of everyone. Final preliminary plat also requires the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to the City Commission. And at this time, this is when we'll have the developer gather all their certifications from the other agencies, like the State Plat Board and the Kent County Drain Commission and any other agencies that would be involved. And then there's also the pre-construction road review during this step. And then eventually you get to road construction once the City Commission has approved the final preliminary plat. Then the last part is the final plat, and this is where after final inspections of the infrastructure and roads have been done and approved, and then Planning Commission again provides a recommendation to the City Commission for the approval of the final plat. And then once this is done, then the developer can apply for building permits after the public road acceptance, if the roads are public. I don't know about you guys, but it took me several years to talk about the platting process from memory. So the proposed improvements for the second phase of Summerbrooke Estates, they're proposing 22 single-family homes. So this is lots 26 through 47. And they're proposed to range in size from 11,880 square feet to 16,662 square feet. They're proposing utilities and stormwater management. There's a detention basin that was already constructed as part of phase 1. And they are also proposing sidewalks, street trees, street lights, public roads. Thornwick is proposed to be extended to meet up with Sydney, where that will be extended to the south. And then a new element here that wasn't part of the first phase is the common areas, and I'll talk a little bit about that more in just a minute. Whoops. So, just a few comments. As far as the plan goes overall, the applicant has addressed all of the planning and zoning concerns that we've relayed to them at the Site Plan Review Committee meeting, which we had on September 24. There were some issues in the general notes and just some minor things. All those things have all been fixed. And so the reason why the packet didn't get out till Friday is because we were trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with lot 47 and lot 33? The original layout showed that lot 47 was to extend all the way to, I'll go to this drawing. This lot 47 here was originally shown to extend all the way to the property line at Kinney. And then also lot 33 up here was proposed to be connected to this detention basin. And so we had some concerns with that. You know, it was a thought that maybe these two areas could be common areas, but with that, the developer would have to form an association, and that's not really something that he really wanted to get into. But we did consult with the city attorney. Actually, the developer provided an escrow check to fund the research on this particular topic. There weren't a lot of, so the main thing is we didn't want lot 33 to connect to the detention basin because you've got one property owner who's responsible for maintaining, mowing this whole area. And so another idea was, hey, why can't we just have these property lines extend across the detention basin to that northern phasing line? The Drain Commission is not okay with that because when you have multiple property owners that abut a detention basin, you have issues with people dumping grass clippings and, people build things in the drainage easements. And so they also were like, that's 4 or 5 more property owners that we want to contact, or more property owners than what we want to contact if there are issues with that detention basin. So they weren't excited about that idea. Another option was to have the developer just own it. He wasn't super excited about that. The other one was to have it dedicated to the Drain Commission. They didn't want that. Another option was to have it dedicated to the city. City doesn't want it. And so the next best option is to have it dedicated and titled to a homeowners association that the developer will have to form, and have this be a common area. And so same thing over here with this portion of lot 47. Our attorney advised that lot 47 would be difficult for a property owner to, basically he said that there would be some title issues because it's really encumbered with easements. And so to keep this out of lot 47 altogether, this can also be dedicated as a common area. So I'm sure this is something that the Planning Commission is going to want to weigh in on. Outside of those items, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission provide a favorable recommendation to the City Commission for the approval of the tentative preliminary plat for Summerbrooke Estates Phase 2 as proposed. based on the following findings. So the plan submitted dated October 28th, 2020 contains all the required information prescribed in sections 74-32 and 74-33 of the Walker City Code of Ordinances. The proposed lots within Phase 2 of the Summerbrooke Estates comply with the minimum dimensional standards for lots within the SA Suburban Residential Single-Family Zoning District per Section 94-188, Schedule of District Regulations. And the third one being that the proposed lots can reasonably be served by public utilities, public roads, and stormwater management facilities. Are there children here? Oh. So, that is all I have.
Okay, thank you, Tricia. Any questions, Pat?
There's a detention basin just down the street. Who owns that?
That one is, so there's a line right next to where it says 18 there. That is not, that's not really a, like a lot line. I don't know why that line is there, but the property owner on lot 18 owns that whole detention basin. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Tricia. Scott Connors, city engineer.
First off, I apologize. The first memo that you got from me basically said, we just got it, we don't have time to write a memo. You were just, it's, you get over-programmed, and when something comes in a couple days late, sometimes you just can't hit the mark. But what you did get from us, I think probably yesterday, was another memo that kind of covers, in way too much detail, obviously, the tentative preliminary plat review. And I think the reason that we did give the full review is because we got a lot more detail than we normally get, and we don't want to have the developer come back later and say, you didn't say anything when we turned these plans in before. So we're kind of on record that, here's a good start at the final preliminary plat conditions. But I think the real thing for you to hear from us is that the layout is going to be fine. We've looked at the layout before, as far back as 2006, so it's been around for a long time. The neighbors should all be comfortable with the layout, knowing what they got themselves into, so to speak. The real issue we're concerned about is how the backyard drainage is going to work, because in phase 1 there were quite a few issues with that. I think there were 4 or 5 different property owners that had problems, and those weren't all related to maybe the development. A lot of times those are related to the individual builder who digs the hole, pushes the dirt in back, changes these grades. And I can tell you that the grades on phase 1 were very sensitive, meaning that if the backyard was constructed a half a foot too high at the beginning, it was going to cause a lot of trouble. And so when somebody goes in and puts 4 inches of topsoil down over something like that, even that small amount can cause some trouble. And there were certainly some pockets and some problems out there, and a lot of finger pointing, but ultimately the developers have got to work with the builders, because they're the ones that put their hands on the property. And in this case, we want to make sure that there's some extra topo picked up and some extra detail. We're not just going to use flow arrows, for example, to say the backyard flows this way. We want detailed grades, spot elevations, and we will work through that in the next phase, if it moves to the next phase, to make sure that that's all in place. That still doesn't give us any guarantees, because again, the builder comes in later and changes the site, and we don't all get to go out and review the grading plans for that stuff. There's a lot of builder accountability there, but we want to do the best we can to give them the best chance for success. So, and the Drain Commission is obviously very involved in that, because they're by state law, they're the ones that review the drainage for plats. We're kind of secondary. In our city, we take that as kind of a primary role, and we also obviously take care of the roads and the storm sewer, so we're there every step of the way too, but it's kind of double covered. So, quick summary, that's it.
Any questions or comments for Scott? Okay, there being none, representative of the developer, come forward, please.
Visker from Land and Resource Engineering.
Don't forget to
I'm Kyle Visker from Land and Resource Engineering. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm here to represent the applicant Ron Cordes for this project for Summerbrooke Estates Phase 2. And I think Tricia and Scott gave you a good summary of the project and what we're trying to do. I don't really want to take any more of your time. For that, just reiterate that Ron Cordes is a different, he's a developer. The first phase was a different developer, and we really want to emphasize that we're going to work really hard with the city of Walker to try to have this be a good development and address all the concerns, especially that Scott brought up as far as, backyard drainage, and be really sensitive to those issues that we had problems with in the first phase. So I guess with that, I can answer any questions that you guys might have in regards to the proposed development.
I went out and looked at this, and I could see what you're trying to do is get as many lots in there as possible. This is the last, the good part's already been developed, at least that was my feeling. And I could see drainage is a problem. This is a low spot, isn't it? This is the last part of a whole bunch of stuff, and I can see why you gotta be careful what you do. Did you design the first part?
Yes, we designed the first part. We kind of, like you said, there's a long history there of, we kind of took it over halfway through. And even that first phase didn't have any, detention basin or anything. That actually was just all storm sewer that led to the previously developed Plat. So now this phase has that detention pond that was already built, but from there it outlets and actually continues to that the one on lot 18 that you saw, called Arbor Estates. I think that's the name of the plat. So,
All right. Any other comments, questions? Just a comment that it's nice to see that there is provision for a future extension again to the south. Looks like you got a similar property in terms of dimension, and so that they'd have the opportunity to get back out onto Kinney Avenue as well. Okay, this is a public hearing, so we'll take the time right now. Those in the audience that would wish to come forward, give your name and address, and any concerns or comments that you have concerning the proposal.
I think I need to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Oh, that's right. All right.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, motion by Tyler, supported by Jason to open the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Any comments from the audience?
Hello, is this on?
Yep.
Oh, wait. My name's Rob Unrath. I'm at 3878 Macy. My property is number 24 on the map, so I butt up to the detention basin. My concerns were just around that common area and what that means, and then what that means to us as an adjoining property, who at this point wouldn't be in the association as I would understand it. My questions are basically, it does collect a lot of water currently, so much so that I've taken my son out there and kayaked in it. So with this next phase, there's going to be obviously more water, and the concern is long-term, who would be enforcing that association to maintain it, and if it doesn't get maintained, what happens down the road, if things are dumped in there that aren't supposed to be, or things get clogged up and there are drainage problems, how does that affect us, both like physically if it were to overflow, which would probably take a lot of water, but nevertheless being a concern. And then I know there's probably like 13 to 18 houses in phase one that had a thing that said there could be a special assessment if things needed to be improved. And the concern would be if this detention basin is compromised in some way that isn't just natural, and an assessment comes back to us, how do we navigate those types of concerns?
That's a good question. City Engineer Scott Connors should be able to respond to that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, when you have a plat, the agency that's ultimately responsible for detention, for stormwater, is the Kent County Drain Commission. So on your ballot, for example, just recently you saw a position in there, Kent County Drain Commissioner. Most people don't know what that is. If you live in a plat, they have some kind of a oversight over the drainage within your plat. And they don't really mess with the street too much and the public storm sewer. They let us take care of that, which I think is way better. We have resources, we're close by, we're responsive, we can do all that. But when it comes to costs, like if the detention pond isn't maintained, it becomes plugged, needs to be hogged out because there's a foot of sediment in there or something like that, they would be the ones that would oversee that, and they could come back and special assess that to the district, which is generally the plat. So you're correct. It doesn't happen very often, but it's written in there. And
so yeah, when I bought it, I was able to see that there was phase two, that it would be in there, and at the time, the detention basin was its own lot and whatnot, and the understanding was that it was, Walker or Kent County was going to own it or something like this, and now that it's going to an association who are going to be like, well, I just got laid off for 6 months, I don't want to pay, let's all vote not to fix it this year, and that actually becomes a poor decision, and therefore Kent County comes in and says, we're going to hog it out, and we're going to assess everybody in the area, but it was due to the fact that this association didn't do their jobs correctly. I just want to make sure that is something that's not taken off of Walker and put on, all of us residents to have an infight about.
unfortunately, we probably will have a little fighting about it if it gets to that point. But the good news is you're in a community that takes care of most of that stuff without having to deal with it. So that would be our hope. It would be the hope that the association, go ahead.
I'm sorry, finish your sentence.
It'd be the hope that the association could take care of the regular maintenance like mowing and pulling beach balls out of the pipe and stuff like that. We don't want to have somebody's kayak get jammed in there and then have houses get flooded. But we'll help with some of that kind of stuff. If it gets to be a bigger item, then the drain office will have to take care of it.
Very good. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Rob, what lot are you on?
I'm on 24.
24. Okay, so you regraded the back of your yard recently.
I did.
You did?
Correct.
And you took all your dirt and put it on the other side of the retention pond, correct?
Oh, yeah, with Rick's permission.
Pardon?
With Rick's permission.
Okay, so what happens is, unfortunately, some people take liberties and they move the dirt around. And what happens is that causes an issue later for other people. Okay, and I understand, he does maintain it, he mows down there, does a good job. But people don't realize the consequences when they do that. They alter the dirt, and it causes problems later. So fortunately, this side of that, the south side of that retention pond is going to be regraded and changed. But when people do alter stuff without permission, that causes problems down the road. And that's why we have the city of Walker. If they know it, they're going to do something about it. So, and I'm not criticizing him. He doesn't know any different because it's a wide open field, basically. But that's how things get out of disarray. And that's what causes problems. And I've been guilty of it in the past myself, not knowing the difference when I was younger. So that's why we have this board, and we have the plots, and we have things going on the way they are. So I'm
Sir-
just explaining my view on it. This is my take on it. And I'm the developer. So I'm the
Sir-
one that's going to be doing this. And I want it done right. And before the original part, I took orders from the developer. Now I am the developer, and I don't want issues like this happening. I want things to work very smoothly. And I think Tricia and Scott know that I'm willing to make this work very across the board as far as, I want it to go good. I don't, and then in the future, if the next phase goes to the south, I'd like to be a part of that. But I have not contacted those people or anything, but I'd like it to go good. And if I don't do it, I still want it to go good for the person that does it, so, or the developer, so. That's
Sir,
all.
so
Yes, sir.
your name is and your address?
Ron Cordes, 7305 Bumhoff Avenue, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I'm Rose Kogi. I live on 877 Kinney. I received the card to come to the meeting. I just wanted additional information, exactly, how the plat was going to be laid out, so I'm good.
Thank you for coming. Any other comments? Hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Support.
Motion by Jason, supported by Tyler to close the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We've got the overview on the process. Tricia, thank you for kind of explaining how this goes, the entire process. This is the first step in it. And Scott providing some of the, I think, some additional detail that'll be helpful for the developer as well as us as planning commissioners to see how it fits in with the surrounding areas, getting more information on the adjacent home sites and see how that interacts with us. I think as we go to the next phase in the process, probably answer some of those questions there and maybe give a little more communication with the adjoining property owners as well. Any issues you see, or does this look fairly straightforward where we'd offer a recommendation to this city commission?
I'll make a motion. Motion for case number 20-877 Summerbrooke Estates Phase 2 Tentative Preliminary Plat Approval, 910 Kinney Avenue Northwest. I make a motion to recommend approval to the Walker City Commission for the tentative preliminary plat for a second phase of Summerbrooke Estates Phase 2 located at 910 Kinney Avenue Northwest and consisting of lots 26 to 47, based on the plan set revision dated 10/28/2020 and supporting application documentation as it does meet the standards set forth to the City of Walker subdivision regulation ordinance. Findings of fact. The plan submission dated 10/28/2020 contains all the required information prescribed in section 74-32 and 74-33 of the Walker City Code of Ordinances. Number two, the proposed lots within Phase 2 of Summerbrooke Estates comply with the minimum dimensional standards for lots within the SA Suburban Residential Single Family Zoning District per Section 94-188 Schedule of District Regulations. Number three, the proposed lot can reasonably be served by public utilities, public roads, and stormwater management facilities.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there support? Support by Stephen.
You want to add Scott's memo?
Yeah, we can add it as a tentative additional conditions that notes that Scott's memo was put in. Is that okay, Scott?
I think the nice thing is that this is more of a view of a schematic, and those comments will get incorporated next time. My memo will look exactly like that unless all those items are resolved, and then it'll be a lot cleaner.
Yeah. Condition of tentative preliminary plat approval notes that Scott Connors, the city engineer's letter of November 3rd, 2020 be admitted to the packet.
Steve, you're still in support? Very good. We have a motion on the floor and support. Any other conversation? There being none, we'll move forward, we'll take action. Motion, those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. As far as, that looks like at the end of the agenda, any updates or reports from staff?
Just a couple. You're probably aware that the city commission approved the final version of the master plan on October 26th. So that's, I'm sure, very exciting to have that under your belt at this point.
I'm not doing it again, so.
We have another public hearing on that?
Never. We also have been, you guys have considered some amendments to the language in the ordinance regarding mobile food vending. And, so you forwarded a favorable recommendation to the city commission at your last meeting. And I think what we're gonna end up doing is go back to the ordinance committee to, and Steve, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little bit more. But before it goes to the city commission, our clerk wants to have it one more time at the ordinance committee.
Yeah, I think we're just circling around the same points that we had already kind of been discussing with the mobile food vending license, business license debate. I think we just have decided to hash that out before we finalize everything. So I don't think it's any discussion that would surprise anyone based on what we had already talked about.
Yeah. Outside of that, we've got a couple applications in the hopper. Just had an application dropped off today for a hotel right next to the Meyer gas station, over on Walker Avenue. And, this apparently is a different one. There's a vacant lot right next, or on the other side of the service drive from the, Walker Meyer gas station. So on the south side of it.
Oh, so you're saying like over by those new lots that we kind of tracked for?
Yep. I think there's already 2 hotels like behind McDonald's, but
We see this every year. Every time for a while, by the way.
For a while, it
Yeah.
was mattress stores, now it's hotels, who knows what's next?
well, I'll tell you what's next. The Kent County Road Commission wants to build their complex that's currently over on Turner in Grand Rapids. They're kind of running out of space there. They're a little bit landlocked because of the river, and they are moving to Walker. So they've submitted their application to get going on the first phase of their complex. So that'll be at your December 2nd meeting. I mean, that's probably about it for what we have for real actual projects. Waterford Village, as Pat was talking about earlier, they're kind of creeping their way back into the mix again. They're holding their community meeting tomorrow night, and they want to be on the site plan review committee meeting on the 19th of this month. And so,
I would recommend it if you're interested, if you have time, go to that meeting tomorrow night. Go incognito, of course, but just to listen to it. I've been to a number of these neighborhood meetings.
I'll send it to you.
This meeting is virtual.
yeah.
Is it just virtual or is it?
It's just virtual. So I forwarded everyone the invite. So I think what they want you to do is send an email to the one email address that they've provided, and then they will send you an invite to the meeting to join the Zoom meeting. And so it sounds like They've had a little bit of staff turnover with Stoneleigh Companies, who's the developer. So now there's a different guy who's representing them. And yeah, they will likely be having a public hearing either in December or January.
I would encourage you all to not make too many comments at the meeting. I know we do these in the town, in my township where I'm on the planning commission too, and we try to stand back and let things happen and just listen. And if you start to engage, then all of a sudden the city's involved and it gets weird, because that stuff should be done in public anyway. And
Exactly.
Good point.
I had like a 90-year-old woman come to the city today and ask if she could have a copy of that rendering that was included in that meeting invite. And because she said, you know, I don't have a computer, I don't do computers, I heard this is what's happening. So some of those folks, I think, are probably going to be excluded from finding out what's happening. So hopefully the neighbors will try to fill some of those people in. I'll leave it up to you, Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Just when I think it's slowing down a little bit, things back up a little, but Scott and I are both gonna be, out for surgeries in the coming weeks. So hopefully we don't, because I won't be able to do a lot of typing. I'm having shoulder surgery, so it'll be weird after Thanksgiving, but. We did actually.
we're just gonna sit home and drink. Yeah. It's the slow time of year, it makes sense. To me, it was the right time.
Yep, so.
I'm lobbying for a brewery.
Yeah, that would be a perfect use.
Lots of cool rumors, I guess, but I haven't heard anything.
No, not since, I don't know, it was like several months ago, we were reading about something in the DPW break room. I don't even remember what we were reading about.
It's such a unique spot, right? It's the size of that building, the clearance, and it's gonna require a unique, company or business to do that. It could be turned into something really cool. But, it's not exactly downtown, so it's not gonna be a brass works building or something like that.
All right. Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.